Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to be discussing on the OpenShift Enterprise Administration. So, in this, especially what we are going to be focused on this one. And before that, let me introduce myself. Suresh. I'm working as a freelance corporate trainer, and I do trainings on Red Hat Linux, Sun Solaris, IBM AIX, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, OpenShift, and Azure DevOps. So these are my technologies. Since 2011 onwards, I am into the training field. Before that, I worked as a Linux administrator for ING Asia Data Center, and now I am doing as a freelance consultant also. Recently, I have done for the PayPal. Before that, I have done for the Sony, and all over India I'm moving. Sometimes I'll travel out of the country also to deliver the trainings. That's what I'm certified from the Red Hat certifications on Sun Microsystems SCSA. That's what from my side. And here, the demo, what we are going to be learn, especially in the OpenShift, in the sense, the purely here how it is the past technology it works on our server. So that means what is the need of this OpenShift Enterprise Administration? So what is the main the users can get into this one, and who needs this is especially, and as well as what type of data the tech information we are going to be learn through this OpenShift Enterprise. So in that scenarios, let me show you the curriculum. So this is D0280. We can say that it's a OpenShift Enterprise edition. Let me go to share my screen once again. Yeah. So here, OpenShift Enterprise Administration. So in this, especially, who needs this one? So totally, how it is? It's a past technology. So platform as I'll give you the differences. Who doesn't have the minimum knowledge on the what is SaaS and what is IaaS, and as well as past technologies. So the prerequisite for the participants, especially here, so who is already clear if you want to do the certifications, especially in the OpenShift. So those people has to be clear the basic certification of the Red Hat Certified System Administrator, and if it is Red Hat RSC is if it is there, yes, it's fine. It's you can go ahead in that. So RHCA right now it is related to the Ansible actually. So we should clear that RH294. We can say that. And for the administrators, the target audience mainly, and even for the developers also, they can able to do this type of OpenShift who wants to deploy their applications and test and that means infrastructure code. That means there's DevOps principles, whatever we have, right? Which we want to reduce the time to market and infrastructure as a code and as a continuous delivery to do that, right? So for them also, it is useful for that. So totally it comes to the duration 24 hours. So that is 3 days. If it is actually it's a corporate level, if we can go through that, it's a per day 8 hours. So here the 24 hours we can go. So in this we can go for the 40% theory and the 60% lab on that. So especially in the this course outline, so we are going to be discussing the what is the Red Hat OpenShift Enterprise Edition. So what are the features of this Red Hat Enterprise Edition? So that is what we are going to be discussing here. So for example, the distinguish between the platform as a service, which is differs from the kinds of the cloud platforms, and this we are going to be exploring this OSC. That means nothing but OpenShift Enterprise with the features and use cases, and how this pass is helps to the developers by eliminating their waiting time for the environment, for provisioning and as well as testing, and as well as we can going to be discussing on this how the application can be run inside the OSC as a containers. So that we are going to be discussing at this point. Then after that, how to install this OpenShift Enterprise. So in a single node cluster, we can able to do that. And if you have that much of capability, at least a 16 GB RAM, if we can have that, then we can go for the master and the configuration of the master and node. We can able to do that. And with this we can able to do the how to build an applications, how to build an applications. So how to create and how to build and how to deploy the applications in this OpenShift Enterprise edition. So that we are going to be discussing. And whatever the persistent storage, we can say that. So this, especially the persistent storage, how it works means, if you can say that the Docker, the data, whatever we have stored it, the containers it will create it, right? From that, so we can store in two ways. One is which will be created in the local, and as well as which can be created in the hardware, the storage level, SSD hard disk level. So that how it works. So this persistent storage, so especially the Docker creates a container, it creates a new image for us, right? So this new image has an empty layer which is over the original shared image. But all the files whatever we are creating and deleting and changed while the container is running, or once you save that into as a new image file, so that can be the original shared image. Is it right? It remains unchanged. But the same thing, if we can come to this, once the container is stopped, the image is kept until the container is removed. So these storages, if we can store it in the persistent way, so that we can have it. So for that, so keep on increasing. So then how the disk full errors are there. So this type of information we are going to be discussing on this one. Then after that, we are going to be discussing the build applications with source to image. So here we are going to be discussing how to create and the build applications with the source to image files. So in this source to image files, however, we can say that there will be through templates also we can able to do that. So that we are going to be discussing in this. For that we are going to do actually, especially how the developers and the system administrators can use this ordinary what are the default. We people are already know the Docker and Kubernetes. Even if you don't have the Docker and Kubernetes, we will how this Docker helps here and how the Docker will helps here, and the Kubernetes will helps here. That we will discuss it. So can use this ordinary the Docker and Kubernetes workflows with OpenShift. That is what we are going to be discussing here. But this is a requires, it requires them to know how to build a container image files, work with the registers. We know, right, in the Docker registers are there, and how we are going to be work with that type of information we are going to be discussing from the, since actually this is we have from the OpenShift Enterprise third edition onwards we have this. So that is we are going to be discussing here. So especially this S2I, that means we can say that source to image. This is a process OpenShift pull the code from the SCM repository and automatically detects what kind of a runtime and that source code needs and starts a PERT from the base image specific for that kind of runtime. So inside this pod, what happened? We started right from the image. So the inside this pod, so we have that it builds the application as the developer based on his example. Example, we can say that running a Java application with the help of Maven for the Java application. So this build is successfully it's created and another image also is created. It's a layered applications. I'll discuss with you at the time of architecture, especially at that moment we can discuss it. So then how we are going to be uh, managing the resources. We can say that the next topic is manage the system. That is nothing but managing the OpenShift resources. That means we have the images, containers, pods, and the services, builders, templates, and others which are stored in our etcd storage. So etcd is a storage a point where we can store all the devices here. So the persistent storage, we can say that, which we have in the example in the Kubernetes also we have that. So that is also we are going to be discussing here. So etc our notifies the Kubernetes and as well as OSC controllers which own those resources about to the change. If it is changes anything, so it will give the warning to us. So those controllers can take action eventually, and as well as the cloud, it reflects to that change. So this is what example. So let's take an example on this one. How this. So if a new pod resource is created and the Kubernetes will schedule and start the pod on some node, right? So we started, and we have multiple nodes are there, and some particular node it is added. So using this PERT resources to determine which image to use and which post to expose and so on. So all these we can have these resources. So that is what how we are managing this one. Then as well as after managing this OpenShift resources, then after that how we are going to be customizing the OpenShift enterprise. So based on your requirements, for example, the kernel related and the network related, we have to do changes something. So we know that Docker network is very simple. So how it creates a virtual kernel bridge and connects each container and network interface to it. Same as like the Docker itself does not provide a way to allow a pod from one host to another host, which is connected to a pod from to the another host. So in these scenarios, how this need changes here. So how we are going to be customized based on our requirement. That is what we are going to be discussing. At the end, we can go for the review of the OpenShift, what we have learned and all those things. So in this, especially, I want to discuss with you in this one. So the cloud service models, whatever we have, right? So these cloud service models, if you can see that, so there is infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service and as well as the software based as a service. If you can see here, we have the applications and these are infrastructure as a services. We have the developers and as well as system administrators have to provide an OS installation, the configuration, and together any runtimes and the library files which are required by the application. Is it right? But they are responsible for to keeping us those all these are updated and as well as the server hardening, the OS and the runtime. These are all like to be physical servers on or on your premises virtualization. These type of things, whatever we have that. Coming to the one, the other end, we have the SaaS actually. So this SaaS, what it does, software as a service, just like a Salesforce, how the users have no control on any other software configurations. Just they just run the application and as whatever they provided, and that application has the own management and the front end. So just however you're using the accessing and the rights and everything that we can able to do the with the help of same organization. But there is another one in between. If you can see that there is a PaaS technology. This is pre-configured operating system and it is a runtime on which users can deploy their own applications. These good PaaS would go to the beyond the basic of web server and application server and as well as web framework to provide the databases to us and how is the messaging, business process, the management and the enterprise integration patterns. So among all other middleware services, we can say that. So traditionally, PaaS offers to tend to be very restrictive on the runtime available, which is offer little customization for this. That is only resources, little customization only we have done. So that is what the previous whenever I discussed to the curriculum on that. So that OpenShift, what happened here, it imposes the virtually with no restrictions. That is a main what we can say the OpenShift. So this, what are the main features of this? The PaaS technology, if you can see that, which allows building a private PaaS cloud infrastructure. So one of the part of the large OpenShift product family actually. So this large product family, if you can say that, how it provides with the help of Docker. So let's take an example. We can say uh, Docker directly, the bare metal server and how the evaluation of this IT world. So in the bare metal server, only if you can say the through paint, you can see here we have the resources like this. So think about these are the processors and the storage and the RAM and as well as the process interface network device. the RAM. On the top of that we have one operating system, then we can run only one application. Here the thing is, we know that it's are you utilizing the resources effectively? It's the first question. So the question is no, we are not utilizing the effectively resources. To overcome on that, that's the main motto. Then the virtualization came. So what happened here, it is we are creating one hypervisor. On the top of that hypervisor we have the we created one VMs on that. So these VMs, we can create the multiple VMs here. So let's take an example. VM1 we created, and the top of that operating system, then we can run the applications. So this, in this way, here we are utilizing the effectively resources, utilizing the resources effectively, right? Then to create all these library files and everything, it is taking the time. So then on the top of that operating system, we got the Docker engine, containerization. Then directly we can run the containers. So that, however, the evaluation came here. So the same thing, we have the platform as a services, directly how we are able to access the applications in this one. So at that time, we have the self-service platform should be required. So what is meant by self-service? Developers can create the applications from the templates and from the source code management repositories. But system administrators can define that resources quota for the users and as well as projects. That is the available feature which is in the OpenShift. And it can support the multi-language support. Our OpenShift can support the multi-languages like Java, Node.js, PHP, Perl, Ruby, and all this multi-language it supports on that. Then we can go for the automation. So yes, it supports the automation. So application, whatever we have the lifecycle management, which automatically apply the changes to the source code under the version control and as well as the security errata from the base OS. So which is dependent the library applications to run applications. And we have the collaboration and we have the scalable and we have the container portability also. And there is no vendor lock-in for here. So these are the advantages. And coming to the whenever we have the session in this 24 hours, very briefly we can discuss the architecture and everything. So that which is useful to you in the past technology. So yeah, that is what